Mark, I want to kick things off with you. You've got a new op-ed out this morning titled "Trump's Triumph Sends a Major Message." It's the working class and middle American that run our country. Mark, tell us more.
Well, just look at the map of what happened, and you can see very clearly. I think the message to coastal elites is you don't run this country. It's not your philosophy and ideology. It's us middle Americans. It's mainstream America who says, I want a better economy, I want less inflation, I want a border, I want stronger security. And they're saying they want a president who believes in that. And I think that message is pretty clear when you look at the map.
Robert, your reaction? Talk to us about the results, how they compared to the polling we saw ahead of the election.
Well, a lot of the mainstream media polling was once again very far off. They had quite a few of these states with, I mean, within the margin of error certainly, but consistently a Harris lead, and some late polls that were just insanely outliers that came in, tried to skew things. And then you had some of the prognosticators doing what in the polling industry we refer to as herding, which they were all basically trying to mimic each other exactly. But the betting odds tell another story. They know which pollsters to pay attention to, and that's why for weeks they've been going the direction they have been and indicating a strong Trump victory. This idea that there was a voter that was hard to identify, it was borne out yesterday. He exceeded even some of the most positive polls for him, and certainly washed away the most of the mainstream media polls that were suggesting it would be super, super tight and he would lose a lot of these battleground states.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations, because your polls were obviously more accurate than many others there. But I also want to get your take on these betting sites. I mean, Polymarket, Cahaly, they were all saying Trump was going to win and win big. And people saying, oh, no, this is just, money and people are making bets. But they were also very accurate.
Well, that's the point. I always say the polls have two purposes: one, to reflect the electorate, or to affect the electorate. And the betting markets people know the difference. They know which polls consistently get it right and measure that Trump vote, and they know which ones miss it. And so they know how to filter through all the nonsense and see what's really coming. And that's why there's so much more. I mean, when people put their money on the line, it's not like trying to push an agenda. They're trying to win and they're trying to make money, and that they don't waste their time on polls that are just trying to paint a picture, not try to paint the reality.
Yeah, Mark, I want to get your takeaway on what struck you most in this election. I mean, you had key voting groups pushing Trump to this projected victory. He led among white women nationally compared to Harris, according to the Fox News voter analysis. He made significant gains among Latino men and women, black men this election. Trump also winning among men and women, which I think was interesting. Men and women with no college educations. Harris won among college-educated voters, but Trump still saw major support among college-educated men. We broke this down in our voter analysis, Mark, but I want to get your take. You are such a great student of this for such a long time. What struck you most about this election?
Well, it struck me that the Democratic coalition really shrunk while the Republican coalition expanded. That's why the Senate was won, and it wasn't just Trump alone. And you've seen maybe Trump's going to get the popular vote when everything is counted, or come very close here. Because you saw, I think the thing with young people is particularly striking. No one really expected that Trump would do better with young people, as you saw. I think Latinos, it's very important, the message that they're sending. Most Latinos thought the economy was in the wrong direction, and they voted as working class voters. They're not going to vote on the basis of identity. They are going to vote differently from black voters, and I think that's kind of an emerging theme out of this election.
No, I think this is such a great point, because throughout this election, what we had was the Democrats telling us how we're supposed to vote. You had Barack Obama lecturing black men, saying, I'm not buying it. I think you're not comfortable with a woman as president. Then you had him lecturing Arab Americans. Okay, you had no questions whatsoever being answered. So what are we supposed to do? Just follow and do what the Democrats want us to do and not get any substance whatsoever on the questions that were asked?
Well, I think the message is it's issues, not identity, that is going to more and more determine the vote. It's inflation, it's the border, it's immigration, it's those core issues that you saw that were at the top of the list. And look, there were abortion voters and climate change voters and healthcare voters, but I think the message is don't duck questions. Tell us where you stand on the issues, what you're going to do for the country. The campaign of Hollywood and ducking what you really stand for, that failed.
Bottom line, Robert Cahaly, President Trump has been elected the 47th president of the United States. How did he do it?
Well, he did it, as Mark was referring to, and so many people are saying, all right, what Trump needs to do is he needs to focus on just a small segment of, suburban women who don't like him. Instead, and he improved his margins there, but instead he went straight at the Democrat coalition. He took that youth vote from a 20-something point range to down to 10 on mainly the strength of young men, and he cut into the Hispanic vote over 40%, and he cut into the black vote. So he took their base coalitions, campaigned to them, treated them like any voter who needs to have the respect of being campaigned to, and won them over.
Real quick on women, Mark, because I think women were the sleeper segments here, and I think it's the open border. The open border has been so destructive. Have the Democrats recognized how destructive their open border was? Because women, I think, were voting on the idea that their kids have been impacted by this open border. Your thoughts?
I think the border and inflation, too, and crime as well. Look, the gender gap was significant, but nowhere near as big as was projected. I think you saw that Seltzer Iowa poll, and everybody was fearing, I was saying, well, maybe there will be soccer grannies here who really are going to side. And that theory was really shot down. I think what we saw is that women feared about, I think, principally the economy more than anything else.
Hey, how about that Iowa poll? How wrong was that in the 11th hour?
It really was completely wrong. I mean, there was no truth to it whatsoever. She was a great pollster. It's a terrible stain on her record. It's unfortunate. She should have gone back, done a second poll, and confirmed what she got when she got something so such an outlier as she did.
Yeah, an outlier to what we had been seeing. Robert Cahaly, Mark Penn, great to have you both. Thank you so much.